On Overdrive today, we take a closer look at Honda's Warrior in the very busy mid-size SUV space, find out what's been added to the KTM 390 adventure, and know more about India's very first Supercross racing league. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I'm Soini Dutt. Honda has finally taken the wraps off its mid-size SUV, the Elevate, and it's about time that they did so because the last SUV they sold in India was the CR-V, which exited the country way back in 2020. Now bookings will begin next month, but before that, let's take a look at all the details.
This is the much awaited Honda Elevate. I'm going to call it I'll Wait, because you see, Honda has completed 25 years in India and they've made their fans wait for a rather long time for this SUV, that proper Creta rival. Let me give you a closer look. The front end is the most pretty angle for this car, or should I say the most imposing angle, because they've given it a rather upright grille and it's a huge grille. In fact, in the white color, it almost looks like a mini Land Cruiser. And that's with all the horizontal detailing that you see for the headlights, and that interfacing with this upright grille. I think that front end looks really good. And if we move to the side, it's got 7-inch rims shod with 215 section tires, so that's broader tires, broader rubber than the Honda City. In terms of the cladding, you get the squared wheel arches, and the cladding is nice and thick, so that gives it that muscular SUV look. And if you look at the bonnet, it's pretty flat. It's a clamshell bonnet. It's pretty flat when you look at the angle, and then when you actually look on top of it, it's got some nice contouring on it. The windscreen is quite sharply raked, not too upright here. It may not look very tall to you, but honestly, it is quite a tall car, at least in terms of the dimensions. It's taller not just than the Volkswagen Tiguan and the Kushaq, but also taller than the Seltos or the Creta. And in terms of the width, it is wider than the Volkswagen siblings, the Tiguan and the Kushaq, and the wheelbase is as much as the Tiguan. So you again get LED tail lights. You can see the design inspiration or the design language being very similar to the Honda City or even the Amaze for that matter. And you see the IV Tech badging. I'm going to come to that in a bit, but here what this hides is a 458-liter boot, which again is a pretty good number. That was a spare wheel, but this is the kind of boot space that you get. It's a little contoured here. The wheel arches are coming in, the wheel wells are sort of coming in, but I think overall it's pretty generous, the kind of space that they've given you. And here is your spare wheel. So that's the cabin. So you get this forward finish here. It's got a satin finish on top of it, and then you get this dark brown upholstery. It's not the typical beige upholstery that we see with Honda and Hyundai cars. This is a nice brown upholstery that you get here. That brown and black, that interface is looking quite nice. You get a 10.25-inch screen up here. You can see the reversing camera feed coming through. So it doesn't get a 360-degree camera, you get a reversing camera. And there, if you see underneath, yeah, that's Ritesh pointing that out. So that is the lane watch camera. So it will tell you if anyone is in your blind spot. That is the steering wheel for you, multifunction steering wheel. You also get a 7-inch multi-info display. And it's very much like what we've seen in the Honda City, where the speedometer needle is an analog needle and the rest of the display is TFT. So that similar configuration carries through. So 7-inch for that, 10.25-inch for this. You also get the Honda Connect tech with it. Up here you get the wireless charger, you get 2 USB-A ports, you also get a 12-volt socket here, 2 cup holders. This is the 6-speed manual. You get some more storage space here. These are the door pads, 1 big bottle and some space for knickknacks, more space for knickknacks here. You only get 2 headrests. These are very similar seats to what you get in the Honda City, but you only get 2 adjustable headrests. So the rear seat is only good enough for 2 adults and a kid. You see the IV Tech badge, you haven't seen a hybrid anywhere. That's because the hybrid is not yet launched. It will come at a later date. As of now, what you get is the 1.5-liter engine from the Honda City. It puts out 121 PS and 145 Newton meters of torque. And while Honda hasn't given out the figures yet, they claim that it will have best-in-class emissions and best-in-class fuel economy as well. Bookings open in July and the vehicle goes on sale in August. Deliveries will begin around that same time, around the festive season. And in terms of the safety, despite that upright grille, despite the tall stance of the front end, pedestrian safety is going to be best in class, is what Honda says. And you can see the camera right here. It also comes with the Honda sensing technology. The ADAS functions will come to most of the variants of this car, is what we are told, which tells me that the starting price for this vehicle is going to be slightly on the higher side. And knowing Honda, it's a premium vehicle, so it will have a premium positioning as well. So expect the pricing to be in the zone of the 1-liter engine variants of the Kushaq and the Taigun. It will be around that. And when the hybrid comes out, it will compete with the likes of the Grand Vitara hybrid or the High Rider hybrid. Now this Elevate is a global model for Honda, which means that it will be produced in India, but it will be exported to other parts of the globe, right-hand as well as left-hand drive markets. And this will be followed by the hybrid, like I said, but there'll also be an EV variant that will come out at some point within the next 3 years, is what they're saying. And in terms of the EV, I expect a battery capacity of between 45 to 55 kilowatt hours. Honda has sold 3.9 million vehicles in India in the last 25 years of their existence in our country, and most of it has come on the back of sedans: Accord, Civic, Honda City, of course, Amaze, and there has been the CRV, of course, but CRV, BRV, WRV, but this is going to be their first proper crossover, and they have big expectations from it, and I think this vehicle will deliver on most of those expectations.
Currently, the Tapukara plant has a plant capacity of about 180,000 units. And yes, to prepare for Elevate, we've been increasing and ramping up our production. So we have a capacity we are producing about 540 cars per day till last year. Now this has been actually increased, so 620 cars. Definitely we like to be in the SUV growing segment. That is how the Elevate is being designed. So we have done a lot of extensive surveys in the market and what people they actually want from their SUV. What do they expect Honda to make an SUV like? So with all that survey knowledge, we have made and designed this car specifically for Indian market. And as you said, this is a global model, but India is a lead country.
In other news, Maruti Suzuki has launched the Jimny starting at 12.75 lakh rupees for the manual transmission variant. But if you were to go for the top end automatic trim, you would have to shell out somewhere close to 18 lakh rupees on road. Now that becomes a very pricey proposition, but if you're looking for a no frills entry level manual transmission, which turns out to be a very value for money proposition in terms of an off-roader, then you would want to go for the entry-level variant of the Jimny. We'll take a very quick break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we'll tell you all about the KTM 390 Adventure. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Now, KTM brings a wide range of motorcycles to India, which makes it a very popular brand for riding enthusiasts. But it's been almost 2 years since the KTM 390 Adventure launched in India and it hasn't received an update. Well, that time has finally come. They have given the motorcycle a few small updates. Let's find out what they are.
It's easy to see why adventure motorcycles are gaining so much traction in a country like ours. Well, because they're supposed to be built to handle it all, from varying road conditions to trying weather conditions, you name it, these bikes are built for it. Now, KTM already has 4 different variations of the 390 Adventure already out in the country. This one which we have right here with us today, this is the Adventure 390X. This is the most affordable of the 4 variants. Now, we are going to be checking out the highest spec variant, which is the spoke wheel version as well, over the next couple of days. So, we are going to find out how good these motorcycles actually are at what they are meant to do.
Now let's start off with the KTM 390 Adventure X. Although it's the most affordable of KTM's 390 Adventure series of bikes at this time, this one still looks identical to the standard 390 Adventure model that's already being sold out here in the country. And that's because for most part it actually is. Not only are the lights, panels and the tank the same, but parts like the split trellis frame and most importantly that brilliantly explosive 373cc liquid cooled single that puts down 43.5 PS of max power and 37 Nm of max torque, all shared between the pair. Even the seat height and curb weight is identical. So that's the best part about it. In essence, it still remains the same comfortable and powerful machine that we've come to appreciate over time. Changes in the low-end variant come in the form of, firstly, the big piston fork up front and the rear monoshock, which perform very well out on road expeditions and are fine for your off-road excursions as well, but honestly not the best on offer here. Secondly, the X doesn't feature any IMU or sensors, so there's no cornering ABS, traction control or even ride modes for that matter, like with the other KTM 390 Adventure models. So the switchgear as well is a bit different. No fancy TFT screens on this one too, just the LCD unit that's been lifted off KTM's lower capacity Adventure model. Like the V variant of KTM's 390 Adventure series, which gets the same suspension setup as this bike, but not as much travel and a lower seat height, the X can be seen as a slightly more road-biased motorcycle on account of its suspension setup alone. But then again, it's still got that immense touring potential that makes this bike awesome. Another notable aspect about this bike is that unlike the standard and top-end spoke wheel models, the X gets MRF tires instead of Metzeler Touring treads, which didn't feel as nice and grippy on rougher patches. So what did I find the X to be lacking in truth? Well, to be honest, there's really a lot to love about this machine. Still, you could say that first-timers to the segment might miss the electronics suite that give you that safety net of learning. But then again, more experienced riders might not feel the same way, but they definitely will miss having spoked wheels on there.
Now the 390 Adventure X is the most affordable of the 4 variants that KTM has on offer in the country, and it has a lot of things working in its favor. First of all, it still has the engine, the chassis, that setup which we've really come to love and appreciate over the course of time. A good amount of power, good amount of maneuverability. It's nice and light, 177 kgs, good power to weight ratio, very nice and easy going, easy to manage. It is lacking in terms of some electronic features. Well, you don't get ride modes, you don't get the cornering ABS, none of that IMU jazz. But then again, you do get the essentials that you would like to take off-road, like you do have a slipper clutch, you do have off-road ABS, and of course you have the ride-by-wire throttle and LED lights if that is your fancy. So there is a good amount of kit on the motorcycle and there's a lot to appreciate. But then again, if you wanted something more in terms of adjustability and configuration, well, KTM has another version of this same motorcycle that should be right up your alley.
This is the top spec KTM 390 Adventure spoked wheel variant. A motorcycle that costs around 3.6 lakh rupees ex-showroom, and it's got all the goods that KTM India fanboys have been craving for a long time. It's got all the electronics mentioned before, and yes, KTM is finally offering spoked wheels and adjustable suspension as part of the 390 Adventure package. So now that it's here, is it finally worth the painful wait? The answer? A big yes. The spoke wheel variant of the 390 Adventure gets all the good stuff that you could have asked for. LED lights, adjustable levers, a slipper clutch, quick shifter, ride-by-wire throttle, even the stuff that a rider lacking some bit of confidence like cornering ABS, traction control and ride modes, it's all in there. Now if you buy a KTM machine, you are definitely expecting performance from your bike, and by Jove this one has it as well. It's as comfortable as before too, with generous seating room for 2-up and even Rider Plus luggage. The highlights of course of this machine are the new suspension and wheels over the standard model.
Now obviously the USP of this top spec spoke variant of the 390 Adventure has to be the open cartridge upside down fork up front, which is fully adjustable. You get 10 clicks of preload adjustment, 30 clicks of rebound and compression. The monoshock at the rear too has preload and rebound adjustments, no compression settings out there. But the major difference is with the standard variant, well, that model you had to really manage with what the bike was capable of doing. But now this machine with the current setup, well, it has the capacity to manage your particular riding style and preference. Given your terrain and your settings and whatever you want, you can configure the motorcycle and personalize it according to your fancy.
Having a customizable suspension setup means that you can get the bike to behave and react exactly the way you want to, depending on your weight, the terrain and the speed you're comfortable traveling at. Long sections of well-paved road, well, stiffen up things and stay well planted. some lumpy sections of trail coming up, dial in some comfort settings and soften all the blows. Having the option to customize your ride on the go is always a good thing. Out on the road, on this machine, this suspension setup allows you to be more in tune with the motorcycle and not only ride but stop with better confidence too.
Now at 2,80,000 rupees, that is of course the most affordable of this bunch of motorcycles, and for that price still get a very enticing package because, well, the engine, the chassis, the suspension, more than acceptable in fact, and you will enjoy the space arrangement for the rider, the pillion, your luggage, everything. A very nice package all throughout. Now you have 4 different variants of the 390 Adventure to choose from, all catering to different preferences of riding style requirements. But then again, has it made the 390 Adventure a better all-round motorcycle? Yes, it has the top spec version because it is a fantastic tourer and it behaves just the way you want it to behave, and that is really something that you will appreciate once you get your hands on this motorcycle.
KTM India does have plans to launch many motorcycles between this year and the next, but the one we are eagerly waiting for is the KTM E-Duke, which will be powered by a 10 kilowatt motor. We will be back very shortly after this very quick break. On the other side, we'll tell you all about the Indian Supercross Racing League. Stay tuned, you're watching Overdrive. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Now, why should the league genre of sport be confined to cricket, football or just esports, right? Motorsports wants in too, and now India is finally gearing up to their very first CEAT Indian Supercross Racing League in collaboration with the Federation of Motorsports Clubs of India. Now, this will be the very first franchise-based Supercross League to take place in India in October in New Delhi, and it will bring together international as well as Indian racing talents under one roof. Take a look.
The CEAT Indian Supercross Racing League, in collaboration with the Federation of Motorsports Clubs of India, is all set to revolutionize motorsports in India, bringing together adrenaline pumping and fierce competition. This league is the first ever franchise-based Supercross racing league, bringing riders from all over the world to compete in various formats and categories. The first season will commence at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in New Delhi in October 2023, followed by events in prominent metro cities such as Mumbai, Pune and Ahmedabad. From October to December 2023, fans across these cities will witness the breathtaking displays of skills, daring maneuvers and high-speed action that will redefine Supercross racing. We got the opportunity to speak to one of the co-founders of Supercross India, Mr. Ishan Lokhande, and here's what he had to say about the league.
So Supercross is a controlled version of dirt biking in stadiums, in arenas, in venues, which is run under a guidance of the federation, the FMSA, which is the governing body. So this becomes a sport. There is free riding, there is dirt biking, there is rallies. So Supercross becomes a sport which is in an enclosed area under strict safety norms, man-made tracks where riders take out their motocross bikes and go head-on-head, jumping, maneuvering turns, corners and obstacles. Being the youngest country, we have 18 to 35 as the TG, which gets attracted towards action sports, adventure, at high adrenaline stuff, and Supercross is the right fit. It delivers all these things. It's excitement, there are no retakes, there's drama and there's adrenaline rush. So I think there's a huge potential if it is presented rightly, and I think we are on the right track to do that. So 5 years down the line, I think this will be as big as any other sporting league. Motocross bikes are meant for a single purpose. They are dirt bikes made for racing. So you won't see indicators, you won't see side stands or unnecessary stuff which you require as per the road norms. These are dirt bikes made for racing. They're high powered machines with longer suspension and made for time and not distance. For example, a 250cc would be 40 odd bhp and 98 kilos weight. So the power to weight ratio, that's what the magic is in a Supercross bike.
Well, on that note, it's time for us to wrap up this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through Facebook, Twitter as well as YouTube. And you can follow our latest updates on Instagram. We'll see you next week. Until then, drive and ride safe.